Hello. Please introduce yourself briefly. Where do you live, and what kind of neighborhood is it?
My name is Yuna Lee, and I'm a college student majoring in English literature. I live in a small apartment near my university in Seoul. My neighborhood is a quiet residential area with lots of trees and small cafes. It's not too crowded, so I can focus on my studies. I'm a pretty organized and hardworking person. In my free time, I enjoy reading novels and practicing yoga. I also like exploring new cafes with my friends. Overall, I'm a calm and friendly person who values both study and relaxation. Describe your favorite place on campus where you like to relax or study. What does it look like? And what is the atmosphere like? My favorite place on campus is a small reading room on the second floor of the library. It's not very big, but it has huge windows that let in a lot of natural light. There are about 10 wooden tables with green reading lamps, and the walls are lined with bookshelves. The atmosphere is incredibly quiet and peaceful. You can hear the soft rustling of pages and the occasional click of a keyboard. I usually go there in the late afternoon when the sunlight comes through the windows, creating a warm golden glow. It feels like a cozy sanctuary, away from the noisy cafeteria and crowded hallways. There's also a small corner with a couple of armchairs and a coffee machine, so I can grab a cup of tea and just read for hours. It's the perfect place to focus on my assignments or simply unwind after a long day.
What is a typical day like for you? Describe your daily routine from morning to night.
I usually wake up around 7 a.m. because my first class is at 9. After brushing my teeth and washing my face, I have a quick breakfast, mostly cereal or toast with coffee. I live near campus, so I walk to school every day. It takes about 15 minutes. On weekdays, I attend 3 or 4 classes, and between classes, I often study in the library or grab lunch with friends at the student cafeteria. In the afternoon, I sometimes go to the gym for an hour if I don't have a part-time job. I work part-time at a cafe twice a week, usually in the evenings. After dinner, I review my notes or do homework. Before bed, I like to read a book or watch a TV series for about 30 minutes to relax. I usually go to bed around 11:30 p.m. On weekends, my routine is more flexible. I sleep in, meet friends, or explore new places in my neighborhood.
Tell me about a memorable experience you had in your neighborhood or at your home.
I'd like to talk about a really special experience I had in my neighborhood last year. I was walking home from school when I noticed an elderly woman struggling to carry her groceries. Even though I was in a hurry because I had a lot of homework, I decided to help her. I offered to carry her bags, and she was so grateful. We walked together to her apartment, which was just a few blocks away, and she told me stories about how the neighborhood had changed over the past 50 years. It was fascinating to hear her perspective. After that, she invited me in for tea, and we talked for almost an hour. That small act of kindness turned into a meaningful connection. Now I stop by to visit her every once in a while. This experience taught me that sometimes the best moments come from unexpected interactions.
How does your current neighborhood compare to the one you lived in during your childhood?
Actually, the neighborhood I live in now is quite different from where I grew up. I grew up in a quiet suburban area with lots of trees and a big backyard, where I could play outside with my friends. Now I live near my university in a busy urban area. The biggest difference is the pace of life. Back then, everything was slower and more relaxed. Now, it's more fast-paced and crowded. Also, the convenience is much better here. There are cafes, restaurants, and convenience stores within walking distance. Whereas in my childhood neighborhood, I had to take a bus to get anywhere. However, I miss the peace and quiet of my old neighborhood. Sometimes I feel stressed by the constant noise of traffic and people here. Overall, both places have their pros and cons, but I think my current area suits my lifestyle as a student better.
Talk about how your neighborhood has changed since you moved there. What are some of the biggest differences?
I've lived in my current neighborhood for about 5 years now, and it has changed quite a bit. When I first moved here, it was a quiet residential area with just a few small shops. But over the years, it has become much more commercial. A big department store and a cinema complex opened up, and many new restaurants have appeared. Also, the population has increased, so the streets are busier. One of the biggest differences is the transportation. The subway station was renovated, and a new bus line was added, which made commuting to my university much easier. On the downside, the rent has gone up a lot, and some of the old mom-and-pop stores have closed. Overall, I think the changes have been positive because the neighborhood is more lively and convenient now. Tell me about a time when you had a problem with your home or neighborhood and how you solved it.
Last semester, I had a big problem with noise from a construction site right next to my apartment. It started early in the morning and lasted all day, making it impossible to study or sleep. At first, I just tried to endure it, but after a week, I realized I couldn't focus on my assignments. So, I decided to talk to my landlord. He was understanding and contacted the construction company to ask if they could limit work to certain hours. They agreed to start after 9 a.m. and take a break during lunch. That helped a lot, and I could finally study in peace. I also bought noise-canceling headphones, which were a great investment. In the end, the problem was mostly resolved, and I learned that it's important to speak up rather than just suffer in silence.
I'd like you to imagine that you are looking for a new apartment near your university. You call a landlord to ask for information about a rental unit. Please ask me, the landlord, about the apartment. You have 30 seconds to prepare.
Hello, this is Yuna Lee. I'm calling about the apartment you listed near the university. Could you tell me a bit more about it? First, how many bedrooms and bathrooms does it have? Also, is it furnished or unfurnished? I'm also curious about the monthly rent. Does that include utilities like water and electricity? And what about the deposit? Additionally, could you let me know if there's a security system or parking available? Lastly, I was wondering if pets are allowed because I have a small cat.
I'd like you to imagine a situation. You are at home and your neighbor is playing loud music late at night. You have an important exam tomorrow. You call your friend to ask for advice.
Hey, I'm so glad I caught you. I'm in a bit of a tough spot right now. My neighbor is blasting music really loudly and it's almost midnight. I have this huge final exam tomorrow morning and I really need to get some sleep. I've tried knocking on their door, but no one answered. I don't want to cause a conflict, but I'm getting desperate. What do you think I should do? Should I call the building management or just wait it out? I'm worried that if I call, they'll know it was me and things might get awkward. Any advice would be really helpful right now.
Your friend is moving to a new city for a job. It is worried about finding a good place to live. Suggest some alternatives for neighborhoods or types of housing.
I'd suggest looking into areas near public transportation, like subway or bus lines, because commuting can be a big issue. Actually, a friend of mine moved to Seoul last year, and she found a great apartment near a subway station, which saved her a lot of time. Also, instead of a traditional apartment, you could consider a studio or a shared house. Shared houses are popular among young professionals because they're cheaper and you can make friends. Why don't we search online together this weekend? I can help you compare options. Some people prefer to live in a quiet neighborhood, while others prefer a lively one. Which do you prefer and why? I definitely prefer a lively neighborhood, and there are several reasons for that. First of all, as a college student, I spend a lot of time on campus studying, so when I go back to my apartment, I like to feel the energy of the city. For example, I live near a university area with lots of cafes, restaurants, and small shops. It's really convenient because I can grab a coffee or meet friends easily. Also, I enjoy the social aspect. I often run into classmates at the local market or the park. In contrast, my friend lives in a quiet residential area, and she sometimes feels isolated. While I understand that quietness can be good for studying, I think I would get bored and lonely if it were too quiet. To sum up, I believe a lively neighborhood helps me stay active and connected, which is important for my well-being. Do you prefer living in a quiet neighborhood or a bustling city center? Why? I definitely prefer living in a quiet neighborhood over a bustling city center. For me, peace and quiet are essential for focusing on my studies and getting enough rest. I'm a university student, so I spend a lot of time at home reading and doing assignments. If I lived in a noisy area, I'd easily get distracted. Also, I really enjoy taking walks in my neighborhood, especially in the evening. There's a small park near my place where I can relax and clear my mind. On the other hand, city centers are too crowded and hectic for my taste. I'd rather visit the city on weekends for shopping or dining out than live there. So overall, a quiet environment suits my lifestyle much better.
How has technology changed the way you interact with your neighborhood?
Technology has really transformed how I engage with my neighborhood. I use a community app called Our Town to stay updated on local events, like farmers markets or street festivals. For example, last month, I found out about a free yoga class in the park through the app. I probably wouldn't have known about it otherwise. I also use social media groups to connect with neighbors, like borrowing tools or recommending services. It makes the neighborhood feel more connected, even though we don't see each other in person as often. On the other hand, I think we rely too much on screens sometimes. When I go for a walk, I often see people looking at their phones instead of saying hello. So while technology helps us stay informed, it can also reduce face-to-face interactions. Overall, I'd say it's a double-edged sword.
How do you usually stay healthy? Do you have any particular exercise routine or habit?
Actually, I try to stay healthy by incorporating small habits into my daily life. As a college student, I don't have much time for long workouts, so I prefer short but effective routines. For example, I live on the 3rd floor without an elevator, so I always take the stairs instead of the elevator. It's a simple way to get some exercise without even thinking about it. Also, I have a habit of doing a 10-minute stretching routine every morning before class. It helps me wake up and feel more energized. Besides that, I make sure to drink at least 2 liters of water a day and avoid too much junk food. I'd say the key is consistency rather than intensity. Even on busy days, I try to walk around campus between classes instead of sitting all the time. These small things really add up and help me maintain my health without feeling overwhelmed.
Tell me about a trip you took recently. Where did you go and what did you do?
Actually, I took a short trip to Busan a couple of months ago with my college friends. We went there during the spring break because we wanted to escape from our busy school life. We stayed in a guest house near Haeundae Beach. On the first day, we visited the famous Jagalchi fish market and tried fresh seafood. The next day, we went to Gamcheon Culture Village and took lots of pictures. I'd say the highlight was watching the sunrise at the beach. We also tried local street food like hotteok and fish cakes. I'm going to plan another trip this winter, maybe to Jeju Island. I will definitely check out the hiking trails there because I love nature.